Hi, and welcome to yoga. I've been working on this project for a while, wanting to get out of the classroom and onto the net so that you can do the classes even if you're traveling or maybe if you just don't have the time to leave your house. It can be a busy schedule, especially with kids, careers, partners and families. Today we're going to work on the core and we're going to work on the front, the sides as well as the back, because we need that whole cylinder to keep us in our everyday life and also throughout the different yoga poses or any other sports that you do. Let's begin seated on a block, and we're going to start with a breathing exercise. So allow the hands to rest on your thighs or in your lap, and then close your eyes. Ground down through the sitting bones. Let the lower limbs get heavy, connecting to the mat. And from this foundation, grow tall through the spine, all the way to the crown of the head. Let the face soften and the shoulders relax. And then as you observe the breath, notice that it flows in and out through the nostrils, expanding the chest and belly, and then releasing. We're going to cultivate an even breath. So on your inhale, count to 3 or 4. Pausing, and then exhale to the same count. Pausing, and then continue at your own pace. So lengthening or shortening so that both the inhale and the exhale have the same length. Creating a calmness and a steadiness. This breath is good for arriving on the mat, but also calming the body and mind anytime during the day. And you can allow the eyes to stay closed if you like. Going to bring the hands out to the sides. Start with a side stretch. Left fingers come to the mat. Reach high with the right fingers, folding over to the side. Keep that right hip pushing down, so really grounding and lengthening. And inhale, come up to center and switch to the other side. Bending at the right elbow, reaching with the left fingers. You can even drop the chin, so lengthen the back side of the neck. And inhale, come up to center. Release the hands in front of you, lengthen the spine, and find your breath. Deep and even. Imagine the breath moving up through the spine, through each vertebrae, all the way to the top of the head. Walk the hands back. And then we're going to change the cross of the legs. Coming out of our routine, maybe even feeling a different tightness in the thighs. Bring your hands to your knees, and we're going to do a seated cat and cow. So exhale, rounding through the spine, really stretch across the shoulders. And inhale, leaning forward, open across the heart, push the sitting bones back. And continue, exhale, rounding. Inhale, arching and lifting. Last time, exhale. And inhale. And then find your neutral spine. Just release the shoulders, rolling first one direction and then the other. And release. You're going to remove the block and come on to all fours to start with. From here we're going to do alternate arm and leg, pushing back with the right heel, and notice that you drop that right heel, that right hip, so the hips are even, and from there lengthen with the left arm, so you're feeling a long line going from the tip of the fingers and out through the right heel. Lift the belly, try and lengthen the lower back, and exhale, release. First lift through the left heel, lengthening the leg, engaging the core, so feel that the belly is lifting away from the mat, and then lengthen with the right fingers, breathing here, push into your left hand and your right shin. On the exhale, release. Once more on either side, right foot pushes back, left arm forward. Breathe out through the crown of the head. So in this pose, we're working the front side of the body as well as the back side, trying to keep that length and integrity in the core. And then exhale. From here, walk the knees slightly back, fingers slightly forward, tuck the toes and come into plank. Nice long line, push the heels back, reach the heart forward, and then take the pelvis, push the sitting bones, the tailbone back, and the pubic bone moves towards the sternum. Steady, even breath, return to that breath from the beginning. One more breath, full and even. And then we're going to bend the knees and lift your hips. Walk the feet slightly apart, hip width apart. Head rests so that the ears are by the biceps. And see if you can keep a bend in the knees so that you can lift the sitting bones. Trying to remove any curve in the lower back. Any rounding in the lower back. Pushing evenly into both hands. Maybe bring a lightness to the heel of the hand. We're going to do crunches. Right knee comes forward, shoulders move over the wrist, drop the head. Still rounding through the spine. And inhale, push the heel back, three-legged down dog. Exhale, forward, round and tuck. Inhale, push back. Dropping the left heel towards the floor. Last time, curling. Use the belly to lift. Inhale, push back. And then exhale, release. Coming back to down dog. Ready for the other side. Left knee crunches forward. Exhale. And then inhale. Lift the left heel high. Exhale, round and crunch. Inhale, pushing back. Drop the right heel. Last time, see if you can get that knee closer to the forehead. And inhale back. Exhale, release. Going to come forward into plank. And then drop the knees. Moving forward, hips and shoulders in a nice long line. Coming all the way to the floor. So I'm just going to scoot back here. Bringing the arms alongside the body. Palms facing down. Forehead meets the mat. On the inhale, scoop the belly, push the tailbone away, and lift the heart away from the mat. Feet stay connected to the floor. Breathing and lengthening. So don't forget the breath. Chin is tucked so that the gaze is at the mat. exhale, release. Maybe resting onto the cheek, wiggling the hips to release. And then coming back, palms facing down, forehead towards the mat. On your next inhale, lift the belly, push the tailbone away, and then squeeze the shoulder blades together. So in this pose, it's more about length than height. So we're working those erector spinae, the muscles that work along the spine to straighten and lengthen the spine. One more breath here. And on your exhale, release, resting onto the other cheek. And I'm going to bring the arms forward, come onto your fingertips. If this was more than enough work, you stay with the movement that we've just done. Otherwise, fingertips come to the floor, forehead to the mat. On the inhale, lift the belly, push the tailbone away, and lifting the heart. Also engage the legs, pushing out through the toes. You can keep the fingertips on the floor or bring the palms towards each other. See if you can create length in both directions, reaching away from your navel. And in your legs, let the inner thighs roll up. Still have the gaze at the floor. Imagine the arms are in a downward dog variation. And on your next exhale, release. From here, we're going to push back into child's pose. Wide-legged child's pose, so knees come nice and wide, big toes together. Sit the hips back. If they don't connect to the heels, you can always use a cushion. And then walk the hands softly forward. Release the head to a block or to the floor. Let the breath move up the front and back side of the body. As it moves, lengthen away from the hips without letting the shoulders lift. Moving forward, come onto all fours, and then walking the knees back, hands forward, come into your plank pose. So plank works the front of the body, letting the front side of the body rise towards the back side of the body, keeping the body in one nice long line. Bend the knees, lift the hips, walk the feet apart, coming into down dog. And you're still engaging the front side of the body here. So not collapsing in the lower back. We're letting the shoulders squeeze in. If we're looking from the side, the upper body is in a nice long line. Looking forward, bend the knees, walk to the front of the mat, and then come down into a seated position. We're going to work our transversus muscles, our corset muscles, that are located on the sides. You can also feel them if you bring your hands to the hip points and then move in till you find that fleshy, soft part. Keeping the fingers there, you're going to raise the knees over the hips, keeping the shins horizontal. You'll feel the lift, the engagement of these muscles. You can even push a little more so that you feel a deeper engagement. And then we're going to move the right knee forward and down so the heel moves towards the floor and then back up. Keeping awareness, focus on these transverse muscles. So we're using these to guide the movement. And as they engage, they keep the lower back pushing towards the mat. There's still a slight arch here so that you're not completely touching the mat, but moving from side to side. And notice if your lower back starts to lift, then you don't go as far with the heel, you just stop maybe halfway or a third of the way. We're going to do 3 more rounds here. When you move slowly, you also move consciously. You also really get the muscles working because there's no momentum, there's no stored action. Last round here. And then straighten the legs. Give the legs a wiggle, maybe the hips. And you can either stay with the exercise that we just did. If this is challenging enough for you, which it will be for a long time for most of us, you stay with that. Otherwise, if you're ready to progress, you can push the feet towards the ceiling. Once again, feel the soft fleshy part rise towards the fingers, engaging the muscles. And then you're going to switch. One leg comes down, keeping focus on engaging, activating the core muscles, and not letting the lower back arch more. Moving from side to side. And as I lie here, I notice I want the chin to lift towards the back of the room. That's going to crunch my neck, so I want to drop the chin and lengthen through the crown of the head. So wherever you are, straight legs or bent legs, continue. Finishing off the last round. And then bending the knees, release the feet to the floor. So come up to a bridge setup. Feet hip width apart, close to the buttocks, arms alongside the body. And you're going to push into the feet, lift the hips and roll to the outside of the shoulders or the upper arms. Bringing some of the weight off the neck, staying high. Really use the glutes here to keep the hips high, but also to lengthen the lower back. So the glutes protect the lower back from doing all the work. We want the lower back muscles working as well, but we don't want them overstrained. And on your exhale, release back down. You can have a wiggle with the hips, so tilting the pelvis back and forth. And then next round, pushing into the feet, lift the hips. You can choose to interlace the arms underneath you as you roll the shoulders or the upper arms underneath. Be careful not to drag on the neck here. Pushing down into the upper arms. Your choice, staying here, or lift the right foot, pointing it diagonally forward so the thighs are horizontal, parallel, and then releasing. Left leg pushes forward and switching from side to side. So move with your breath and pay attention to the hip points. Are you dropping one side more than the other? You don't need to keep the hips at maximum height. You need to bring awareness to whether one side is weaker than the other. So if one side drops, it's actually the other side, the other hip that's weak. And then release the hands and roll back down. Bring the knees nice and wide, hugging them towards the armpits, releasing the lower back. You can allow the eyes to close, tapping into your breath. Find that evenness, that steady breath. And before we come into Shavasana, we're going to bring the knees together. Arms come out to the sides. Release the knees towards the right. And your right hand can support, rest on the thigh, lifting that shoulder slightly, and then roll to the other side. If this is too deep for you, you can also bring a cushion under the right thigh so that you lift the leg slightly. Or you can even bring the hand up to the heart so there's not as much weight in that left shoulder. On the inhale, come back to center. And then switch to the other side. Seeing if you can stack the knees, stack the hips. Rotate towards the right. Feeling the stretch across that chest, the right side of the chest. And as you release, bring the knees back to center. Maybe drawing circles with the knees one direction and then the other, small or large. And then we're going to come into Shavasana. So if you need to, scoot up the mat. Let the legs lengthen, toes fall out to the sides, and then palms facing up. Let the eyes close. Notice the breath. Taking a deep breath. Start to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Bringing the knees towards the chest. And then rolling onto your right side, briefly resting. And then push up into a comfortable seated position. Bring the hands together in front of the heart. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again.